Good morning, everybody. I'm super excited to welcome two Architects of Change live conversations with change makers who are moving humanity forward. And I'm really thrilled that two-time Olympian Kara Goucher is here with us this morning. And she's got a new book, or journal out, I should say. It's called Strong, A Runner's Guide to Boosting Confidence and Becoming the Best Version of You. Now, before you say, I'm not a runner, this doesn't apply to me, stop. I'm not a runner either, and this does apply to me. It actually applies to all of us, which is why I wanted to have this conversation. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is all about mental strength. It's all about the internal power. I've written a lot about intestinal fortitude, and it's about what we all need to just power through life. So if you're a runner, you get a double whammy, good. But if you're not, I really think it's important to listen, because I said to Kara this morning that I came down stairs and I was feeling like a little bit like, and I opened the book and it talked about, if you're the person who sometimes struggles with your kind of confidence, if you're someone who struggles with wondering if you're enough, this is the book for you. And I was like, good morning.
Yeah, good.
So tell me why you wanted to write this for the general public. I know you're a runner, a decorated runner, an Olympic runner, but most people aren't that. And why do you think what you know can translate to all of us?
I think for myself personally, if you look at my achievements, it looks like it's been a smooth ride, and why would I have doubts about myself or anything like that? But in fact, I've struggled with self-doubt and confidence, like honestly, my entire career. And so I used to be ashamed of that, and I saw it as a weakness. And I've worked with a psychologist for years and years and years, and I saw that as sort of like a weakness that I had. But I've come to realize, like, I'm not ashamed of that. And I think a lot of people struggle with those types of thoughts and emotions, and that doesn't make us weak. And once we acknowledge it, we can work towards it and enhance our lives and make it so that it's not something that we view as weakness anymore. Instead, kind of turn it into a strength.
You write in here about how your mind was really your opponent in many ways. It criticized you, it put you down, and you talk about finding power words and positive self-talk. How do you do that?
You really just have to do it. You have to commit to doing it. So you can't just say, I'm going to talk to myself more positively. You have to make a commitment that you're going to do that. So for me as an athlete, it would come when I'm training, and it would come on those days where, every day when I'm running great, but also on those days where I'm struggling. And I would repeat my mantra or my power word to myself. So I like to pick a different power word for the season of my life that I'm in. So sometimes it's courageous because I'm trying to tackle something new. Sometimes it's fighter because maybe people have counted me out. Or sometimes it's an actual mantra like, I deserve to be here, I belong. But it's always about bringing the focus back to myself. And I think that's the one thing, it's easy to compare yourself to everybody else as a woman or as just a human being, just to always be looking at what everyone else is doing and worrying about how you compare to everyone else. But when you really start to bring it back to yourself and you're really acknowledging to yourself that you're doing the best you can, that's really all that you can do.
I think it's also really the word strong. I love this word, and I like to talk about it not just physically, but you're also talking about it mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So how does someone who's not feeling really strong today, they don't feel really physically strong, but they really don't feel emotionally strong, how do you guide them? Because you also do retreats, which I love. How do you guide them from, I'm weak, I'm the opposite of strong? How do you guide someone from weak to strong?
I think using this book and the tools in this book, I think the easiest one that people can do is to keep a confidence journal, and that every night you have to write something positive about yourself and in your day. And there are days where it's really hard to find something positive, but it starts to reframe your mind of just constantly dismissing yourself and seeing where you did come through. And maybe it's you picked up your kid on time, or you got to work on time, or you got that thing done for work, or for running, I didn't feel good, but I still finished the workout. But you're always sort of reframing it so that at the end of the day, you're always focusing on something positive about yourself, because then you can flip through that and start to see, on a day where you're I just don't feel like I can accomplish anything today, you're look at all these things I've done. I am
Right.
capable. I'm capable of doing this.
Do you think it's really important to write these things
Yes.
down in a journal? And why is that?
I think it's super, super important to take the pen to paper because you're making a commitment to yourself, and there's something about that act of physically writing rather than just repeating it or putting it in your phone. I think it's really, really important that you actually write something down. I feel like it's the act of it, the way that it's so permanent when you're doing that taking that time to really truly focus on yourself, I think is really important.
I think you also say in the journal, in the book, that you talk about, at your level, all the athletes are elite. Mm-hmm. They've all been training. They're all in incredible shape. And that really the difference very often is mental.
Yes.
And that really could apply to all of us. There's a lot of competent people trying for that same job, a lot of people starting those businesses, a lot of people with dreams. And the difference is your mental vision, your mental strength, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
So, how would you apply that to somebody who's out there going like, oh my God, people are smarter than me, they're more accomplished than me, their resume is going to be better.
Once again, you need to bring the focus back to yourself because
right. And that's hard in this social world.
It's very hard, right?
Yeah.
Because all you ever see is like people succeeding and looking great and getting that job and doing all these things. You don't see like how long it took them to get there or the bad days. You don't see that. So mm-hmm. It's very easy to spiral that way. But I think you really need to just be true to yourself. And what comforts me before big races, like if I'm trying to make an Olympic team or something like that, and I start to get really, really nervous, I just think I can only ask myself to do what I am capable of doing. And that helps me a lot. So the same with anything else in life. Like you can only ask yourself to do what you can do. And when you focus it back on yourself and you say, look at the progress I've made building towards this job. Look at the progress I've made in my life as being a mother, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. That starts to add up and give you confidence that you are doing everything you can do to be the best version of you. And you can't really do any more than that. You really can't.
Why do you think this? I have 4 brothers, 2 girls, and then I have 2 daughters and 2 sons. What do you think it is about women that they struggle or seem to struggle so much with self-doubt, that they're, picking up a book and they're responding to, like, if you don't feel like you're enough, if you're having a bad day, if you have self-doubt, that might speak to me more than my brothers. What is that?
I don't know if it's just the way that we're raised through society, but I think that most of my friends and the women that I interact with at my retreats, at my retreat will say, you have to say something you're good at and something you're going to do. It is so hard for them to find something that they're good at and like to own that. And usually it's about, I'm good at taking care of other people.
Yeah.
And that's usually, honestly, 9 times out of 10, that's what they'll say. I'm good at caring for my family. I'm good at taking care of my husband. I'm good at being a good friend. And I don't know, we just like.
And then what do you do? And so you say to them, no, that's not what I'm talking about.
You say, that's fine. You can say that can be your thing, but now you have to say an intention of something that you want for yourself that you are going to do in the next 365 days.
What's your intention for the next 365 days?
My intention this year was to spend more time with my husband, just because I've been doing a lot of traveling and we just haven't spent as much time together. We have an 8-year-old son and he's been really active. But my intention last year was to start a girls' retreat, which is finally starting in January. So we hold each other accountable to do these things that we're scared to do, but we really want to do.
So the girls' retreat is different from the women's retreat.
Yeah, it's just a one day. It's a lot about this book, about, when I was in high school, I had a very happy upbringing and everything, but I struggled with a lot of self-doubt and a lot of insecurities. And I wish I had had someone that could say, it's a bumpy road. Yeah. And that's okay. And there's going to be great times and there's going to be bad times. And that's actually normal. And you're going to get through it. You're going to be fine. I just wish I had like a little, because when I struggled, I feel like I kind of struggled alone.
Because so many, particularly, and I, as a mother of 2 boys, as I said, and 2 girls, I think, there's a lot of anxiety in boys, a lot of depression in boys. But I think the kind of 24-hour social media, looking at everybody who seems to be having perfect lives, and I always say, and this is Mental Health Awareness Day, so I think it's always important, as I say to my kids, that's not real. Right. This is real. But it seems that so many kids and people in general suffering from anxiety.
Right.
And trying to understand why that is. When the women come into your retreat, what are they talking about that's going on in their lives?
It's everyday stuff. It's like not feeling like they're fulfilled at work, not feeling like they take any time for themselves in the home. It's nothing crazy. I mean, there are some people that are dealing with some bigger things, family illness or something like that. But in general, it's just sort of like not feeling like you're enough, and just feeling like you aren't enough at what you're doing, and you're never quite perfect enough. And we really try to knock that down, because no one.
How do you do that? How do you make people feel that they are enough? You suggest obviously writing.
Yes.
Right. Setting goals, setting intentions, picking a power word. But how do you drill in to somebody, you're enough?
I think it comes from women talking to women, honestly, and saying that, surrounding yourself with a good group of people. And talk about social connections in the book, finding those people that you can be real and vulnerable with, that are going to keep lifting you. Because I think it's when we can't share those anxieties, they build and build and build. But if I was on a run with you and I was like, Maria, I'm feeling really anxious about this, and then you could say, hey, Kara, actually,
I'd be like, Kara.
That's okay, we'll go slow. But you would be able to talk me off the ledge, And so I feel like we kind of live in our own world sometimes, and we're ashamed to admit we're having these feelings of anxiety and not being enough. And if we could have more social connections and open up to safer people around us, then it's not so scary, and we can help each other out.
In addition, Kara talks about, which we've just talked about, kind of a power word, but it's the first time I saw somebody also write about a power wardrobe or clothes, which I'm a big believer in. And talk about that you believe what?
Yeah, in my profession, I'm a professional runner. And so in my profession, when it's race day, I have a uniform. And so I would never touch any of the pieces of that uniform until race day, because when I put them on, it makes me feel like it's go time. This is serious. And I feel empowered by those clothes. I feel like everything about me physically and mentally shifts when I put those clothes on. There's also clothes I have that I wear when I'm doing a really, really hard workout, like maybe I'm doing a simulator for a marathon. Same thing. I don't ever wear them except for that one time, because that signals to me it's time to work, you're ready to do this. And it's just that last little layer that makes me feel confident that I'm here to get the job done.
But for everyday people, for moms who are out there working, mothering, picking kids up from school, taking care of parents, or kids who are going to school, do you suggest picking clothes for a time that make you feel different?
Absolutely. I mean, we all have that outfit that we put on, we feel a little bit more like, okay, I look good, or I feel good about myself in this. And that you should use that to your advantage when you're going to ask for a raise, or applying for that job, or meeting, someone at your child's school. Use that to feel like, okay, I'm ready, I'm together, I feel good about myself.
The questions, she has a lot of, so there's pictures in here, there are people in here, there's great quotes in here, but visualization. You talk about what is the one thing you did that helped you to prepare for your race or meet your next big goal. You say, reflect on yourself 1 year ago. Have you improved and grown since then? How would you answer that?
I would say yes, most definitely.
How? And is that because you wrote something down then and then?
I think absolutely. It's because I can reflect year by year and just see how I'm more accepting of myself and more accepting of my flaws.
That's huge.
And every year I love myself more and more. But it takes a while to get there.
Okay, you said, what did you fight through today that you didn't think you could?
Well, today I went running on the trails here. And it was very, very hilly, not what I was expecting. But it could be like you had a conflict at work that was very uncomfortable for you, but you still got through it, and you held your head high and you said your piece. Or, maybe yesterday I did a really challenging workout that I haven't done in a couple of years, and I got through that workout, and I was nervous about it. I was nervous because I'm older now, and I'm like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. So it's good to just acknowledge all these little things that you are doing.
So what is the one thing that's motivating you right now?
Well, right now, in my professional life, I'm motivated to show my son that you can still compete clean. And I'm 40 years old. I'm definitely past my prime. But I'm just motivated by showing him that when you have a dream and a goal, you can sacrifice things around and get that goal, but it takes some sacrifice, and you can do it in a good way.
So when you say I want him to see that I can compete clean, that I still have it, so to speak, and then you talk about sacrifice. Let's talk a little bit about what do you feel you're sacrificing? How do you define that when you don't hear that word a lot in the culture?
Yeah, I think like for me, when I want a good running performance, I have to sacrifice in order to get it. So I have to sacrifice time with my family, time with my friends. I can't go out and have a drink with my friends. I can't go out to dinner. I have to like go to bed early. I'm at a point in my life where I'm not willing to sacrifice everything. So for instance, I'm not willing to not go volunteer at my son's school anymore. I'm just like not willing to do that anymore. But in the past, that's something I would sacrifice in order to try to make this Olympic team or whatever my goal might be. Sometimes to achieve something that you want, you do have to let go of other things that you love and enjoy doing. But I want my son to see that sometimes the sacrifice is worth it because you achieve something that makes you really proud and something that you really wanted. And you don't always just get what you want in life. Nothing is handed to you. And sometimes you have to let go of other things that you love in order to achieve this other goal that you have.
So that's really hard. That brings up the whole concept of focus. And that's not just important for an athlete, but in your day-to-day life. I talk to so many people who struggle with, they have so many things, they feel like they can't focus on the one or two things that they need to do. So how do you do that? Does that come under sacrifice, or does that come under training your mind to focus?
Yeah, I think it may be a little of both. I mean, it's like when I have a goal, I know there are things that I have to do along the way in order to reach that goal. So the focus becomes tighter. You know, it's just
Right.
part of it. And that includes sacrificing some of the other things, parts of my life that I enjoy. So I think focus is important. And if you really want to achieve something, whether it's athletic related or not, like you have to focus to get there. You have to be willing to put in the work. And so if you can't tune in and be realistic with what it is you have to do to get to that goal, you're not going to get that goal.
So how do you tune in?
I mean, for me, it's when I really commit to something I'm all in.
So you first set a goal.
Yeah, I set a goal. And so I think goals are really important. I think people are nervous to set goals because they think, well, what if I don't achieve it? And then have I failed? Sometimes we don't meet our goals. You know, there's been plenty of times where I didn't meet my goal, but I had a lot of enjoyment in the journey trying to get there. And I grew so much as a person trying to get there. So I think setting goals are really important in your life. And then you can also set mini goals to help you get there. So I know running. So if I'm trying to train for a marathon, a mini goal would be to get a long run in that's 22 miles. When I know I can do that, then I know a little bit later I'm going to be ready to tackle that 26 miles. But everybody has what it is in their life that they need, but you need to be able to make steps towards that goal. And if you don't have a goal, then you're kind of floating and you won't have focus.
That's a really good point. The other thing in here, and since I just saw A Star is Born last night, it says, name someone who believes in you, and why did they believe in you? That when I watched the movie, it was like, oh, I wish I had a Bradley Cooper who believed in me like that. Or just wish I had Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
That'd be good. But no, we're only kidding. So who do you think believes in you, and why? I love that.
I feel that I've been lucky to surround myself with people that really believe in me. My husband believes in me. My coaches believe in me. My close friends believe in me.
How do you know they believe in you?
Because anytime I say, I think I kind of want to do this, or do you think I could do this, their answer is automatically, yes, you can do that. You can achieve that. And there have been times where they're like, no, actually you won't be ready to do that, you know, but in general, they just believe in what it is that I'm trying to accomplish and what it is that I want to do. It's important to have people like that in your life.
And why do you think that they believe in you?
Because they're just nice. I don't know. I think, you know, when you have deep friendships and deep relationships, you believe in each other. Mm-hmm. And even when the chips are down, you still believe that they're going to get through that and they're going to get better. So I think it's just having a deep relationship with someone, and the belief just comes.
Do you think they believe in you because you achieve what you say, you set your intentions, you do what you say, you sacrifice for what you believe in, that maybe there's something, you know, actually great in you that makes them believe in you?
Well, I think that's probably true. I would say they just believe in me because they love me, but that's probably why. They've seen me do this so many times, set a goal set the intention, start the whole process, and follow through.
Build your confidence, right? So, and then there's all these things. Write one positive sentence about yourself. List one reason that you're good enough to meet your big goal. What about one thing that happened today that brought you joy? I mean, the questions go on and on. These are questions. I love this because I do this kind of like naturally, and I think it's. I think we all need those support.
Yes.
And certain days we fall down. Certain days we don't feel like we're enough, no matter what. You also talk about kind of focusing yourself not to spend too much time on social media.
Yeah.
And so, talk a little bit about that.
I think social media has good things. Like, I keep in touch with all my high school friends. I've built a small little fan base that supports me on my bad days, which has been really great for me. But also, again, what we see on social media 99% of the time is only the good.
Yeah.
It's like one photograph out of 100 photographs that were taken. Or it's like when you find, it's just always on kind of like, look at, I did this, or I look right here. And so that can be hard if you're constantly looking at that and you're thinking, well, no one else seems to be insecure. No one else seems to be suffering from any sort of imposter syndrome. Like, look how happy they are. Why can't I feel that way? Why don't I look like that? So I think it's a double-edged sword, and it has to be used lightly.
And so even though you've had these incredible accomplishments, right, that most people think, oh my God, if I did what she did, I'd be like so happy and everything would be good. It's a marathon, right? It's once you're an Olympic athlete, then you have to do something else.
Right.
Right, and then once you're doing something else, you're starting at the bottom and running up.
It just always keeps going. No one is at the top of anything forever, right?
Right.
And so it's just unrealistic that you would just always feel amazing. At some point, you're going to have a bad day.
Right, right.
And so what do you do during those bad days?
Yeah, there's a lot in here about, confidence, and I think this is something for anyone who has a young child, daughter or son, right? One of the big distinguishing things is kind of self-confidence, self-esteem, and some people think that can't be taught. Other people think, well, you can, actually take it away from somebody. Somebody can rob you of your self-confidence, and then you're really kind of running uphill, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that happens with, young people all the time, and then they're like spending their life trying to climb or run up that.
Yes.
But, so if someone isn't a runner, but is, young enough to maybe start, why would you advocate
to start running?
Yeah.
Oh, I love running so much. I started running with my grandpa when I was 6 years old.
How old was he?
Well, he's 94 now, and I'm 40. So at that point, he was 54.
And he started then?
He started me running. He had already been running. He was a lifelong runner. We used to really, really bond over it. And about how we felt so free when we ran. And, like people ask me if I meditate. I feel like I meditate when I run. I feel so at peace. But running has taken me, I've been so fortunate, it's literally taken me around the world, but it's also giving me my deepest relationships. Because when you're running with other people, you're too tired for any pretense. You're just too tired. So you're just open, and your relationships get so deep. And I've just had the most amazing friendships and experiences from running. And I would just encourage anyone to give it a try. And you don't have to be a marathoner.
Right.
You don't have to run every day. If you put on running shoes and go for a run, you are a runner. Doesn't matter how often you run or how far you run or how fast you run. None of that matters. You're in the club if you just go out for a run.
Oh, there you go. So well said. This is a really great book. I really think it is. Journal, whatever you want to call it, guide. She calls it a guide. But it applies, as I said at the very beginning, to people who run, obviously, who know her very well, but to those of us who don't and who just are trying to do good in the world or trying to kind of do good in our lives and pick ourselves up. There's a lot of self-confidence boosting tips in here, questions to ask yourself, places to answer those questions, and I guess also a guide, a teacher, a coach who runs retreats, who is there to guide you along the way. So get the book for yourself or somebody you love or someone who needs a little confidence boost, as we all do. And people can find out about your retreats how?
On my website, karagoucher.com.
KaraGoucher.com. So if you're a girl or a woman, no men's retreats.
No men's.
No men's retreats.
Sorry.
You'll go somewhere else for that because there's a lot out there for men, but they also need strength and self-confidence, right? And emotional intelligence. That's another thing. So I thank you so much.
Thank you
Congratulations.
So much. I really appreciate it.
Made me feel I haven't done my exercise today. So I'm going to get some confidence and some goals. Get going. Thanks a lot. Thank you all for joining.